Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us timely. We hope that still other participants of the conference join us later. It's always difficult after lunch to be in time, I understand. But we need to start because we have quite a tight agenda for today. So let me to start with small introduction, saying that the subject of our panel is very important. In previous panels, we have heard mainly the political, of course, views and visions on EU-Georgia relations, Georgia's Euro-Atlantic integration topics, etc., which was very interesting, I think. But now we would like to go deeper in the subject, especially related to partnership with European Union. The partnership with European Union means more intensive work on those topics which were communicated during the previous panel, but work which is divided, which consists of lots of different directions, which is full of challenges, problems. It's full of endeavors and topics. So it's really hard work. I think that Georgia's European integration or Georgia's European aspirations, they are not just based on our wish to one day to become member of the European Union, but it bases on our readiness to work hardly in order to transform our society, in order to change our position, including the international position, and become an attractive country, become a country which will be ready to share European values, to work according to European systems in all directions which influence the human life. So let me to start with first presentation. I would ask Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Gigiadze, to make his presentation. So it is his background is well written in the special material distributed to everyone, but I will remind you that he is more than 10 years already in foreign service. He is a very well experienced diplomat working as a head of department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Department of European Affairs. His career includes also working in Germany as a minister counselor and deputy head of mission in our embassy in Germany, and he's now deputy minister of foreign affairs in charge especially of European affairs. So he is one of the best informed men on EU-Georgia relations in any direction. And he's not just well informed, but he is one who makes these relations and who contributes to creating these relations. So let me to ask Mr. Deputy Minister to make a presentation, because I will not specify the question because I understand that you are involved in any direction, so you will rank yourself which topics are most important in our relations and what we are doing in this. Please.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to IDFI for organizing this event, and also express my special thanks to the Federal Foreign Office of Germany and the University of Bremen for co-organizing this wonderful event. Yeah, thank you very much for this presentation. Yes, many items already have been touched here during the day, and I think there are only limited themes which are left for discussion. I would like to especially focus on our EU path and elaborate one on that. As you are well aware, and as previous panelists have mentioned, the EU and Euro-Atlantic integration are the key priorities for Georgia. And 2 years ago, in 2014, Georgia made a huge step by signing the association agreement with the European Union. This was really the milestone in our relations with the European Union, but at the same time, as it was mentioned, it was just one huge step towards our full membership into the Union. Now, the main priority of the Georgian government remains, of course, the full-fledged implementation of all benchmarks of the association agenda. And together with the association agreement, of course, the most important part of it remains the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, area agreement, which has been enacted for Georgia since the 1st of September 2014, and Georgia is really moving forward on that path in order to fully use the existing capabilities. The government of Georgia is committed to do its utmost to make the best use of these opportunities opened by the DCFTA in order to boost its economy and facilitate economic modernization of Georgia. In this light, creating better business environment in the country, developing the private sector and supporting the SMEs are among the main priorities of the government. And this Georgian Enterprise Development Agency, which was created for the small and medium-sized enterprises development strategy, has been finalized, and together with the Georgian government work together with the OECD as a key component of the DCFTA implementation process. Furthermore, the government continues providing support to SMEs through concrete state programs, such as the Producing Georgia First and the Preferential Agro-Credit, which has proven to be very effective. The EU's engagement and assistance in this very demanding process have a critical role. EU's DCFTA support program to Georgia and the DCFTA facility are essential instruments to prepare the SMEs for the new market opportunities. The NPART program, the European Neighbourhood Program for Agricultural and Rural Development, has proved highly effective in supporting Georgia's agricultural sector, farmers and SMEs. In terms of the market opening, we are working to achieve the recognition and priority export goods, for example, such as honey and fish. I would like to particularly underline the importance of the visa liberalization process, which has been also touched upon, and as you are well aware, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was in charge of the whole process, and we were coordinating all other agencies in the country to successfully finalize it. It's not over yet, but the main technical part has been finished, and Georgia received very positive final report by the Commission on the 18th of December last year, which means that now we are waiting for the second part, so-called political decision, which will finally allow Georgian citizens to enter the Schengen area plus four European countries. I would like to underline that since we were directly involved in the whole process, the visa liberalization action plan proved to be a very important catalyst in accelerating reforms in Georgia, and we have done huge steps in terms of reforming many directions. I would like to mention at the same time that we were doing and we're doing these reforms not because of taking the benchmarks and not because of LAP or any other format with the European Union requires us to do so, but first of all for the sake of the country. And of course, Georgia will continue reforming further on, and we will be very actively engaged in this process with all our partners and colleagues. I would like just to mention some achievements. Most important accomplishments were such as the development and implementation of the human rights strategy and action plan, adoption and implementation of the anti-discrimination law, adoption of new civil service law, steps to strengthen independence of prosecution, service and judges, creation of laboratory inspectorate department at the Ministry of Health, improved asylum policy and migration management, and intensive information campaign on legal migration issues. As a result of this hard work, we have excelled in meeting all visa liberalization action plan benchmarks that was provided by the Commission. Actually, we went beyond the initial benchmarks, and Georgia still remains one of the best examples in terms of fulfillment of the benchmarks. By effective delivery on a very demanding reform agenda, we have created a solid ground for the EU to make the necessary political decision. Currently, we look forward to the Commission's legislative proposal, which will be presented to the European Parliament and the Council, amending the relevant EU regulation, as you are aware, 539/2001, and which will allow finally our citizens to travel freely to the Schengen area. I would like to highlight at the same time the strategic importance of strengthening cooperation with the European Union in terms of the energy security. This is one of the key elements of the association agreement, and I would like to reiterate the government's resolve to implement the European energy agenda in accordance with the association agreement commitments, and reaffirm that the accession of Georgia to the European Energy Community is among our main priorities. Georgia is the EU's reliable energy transit partner, and we are determined to make the full use of this potential by participating in the major strategic projects and initiatives offered to us. We have made good progress towards making the Southern Gas Corridor a reality to link the world's biggest single market with the hugest largest concentration of hydrocarbonates in Central Asia. This is a project that can encourage greater economic cooperation, improve energy security, and create jobs in all countries along the corridor, and those have a major effect on the stability and economic development of the region. We hope that the entire infrastructure project along the corridor will be soon operational. Furthermore, the EU's plan to create the energy union is an important development for further diversification of the energy sources, suppliers, and routes. In this respect, Georgia could serve as a key to the EU's policy for the Central Asia. This is our firm belief. At the same time, we would like also to develop our renewable energy capabilities. As you know, Georgia has huge hydro facilities which are currently not fully used, and we are kind of inviting everyone who is interested to look into this matter. And many foreigners are already investing in that sector. I think Georgia has huge potential also in the wind alternative energy plants, which are currently developed in the Kure district, not far away from Georgia. At the same time, it was also mentioned that Georgia is very actively participating in all EU-led peace-building missions around the world, and we are still very much determined to continue our full participation in those missions. And it was not mentioned, but while speaking about Ukraine, we are representing in civil mission in Ukraine, in Central Asian Republic, in Central African Republic, in Mali, and our commitment is absolutely clear. At the same time, we are also very closely working with the European Union regarding the ENP, the European Neighbourhood Policy Review. We already presented our candidacy for this whole process, and we are looking forward for the further steps from the EU side in order to start negotiations. Actually, Georgia had a very successful year in 2015. We hosted several very important formats in Tbilisi, and also participated in Brussels in order to facilitate our relations. And we had here a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia, also initiated by the Georgian side. We presented our joint vision document to the European Union, exactly in order to facilitate the ENP review. We hosted the informal Eastern Partnership ministerial meeting in Tbilisi. We hosted High Representative Mrs. Mogherini and twice Commissioner Hahn. So the intensity of our relations with the European Union remains very high. And we would like to continue on the same path. We will be very glad to see the same intensity of our relations for the coming months and the coming period, and we are ready to do our utmost for this process. Thank you. I think it was too long, but...
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gigiadze. It was really quite informative, comprehensive, and it was really very useful for us to know all the details that you now communicated to us. Especially was interesting the last exercise you mentioned that Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova coordinated their efforts in order to push a review of ENP in a direction that is beneficial for all of us. This is very good. I think that Georgia, Ukraine, and Moldova will in the future form a special group of those countries which are closest to the EU in our region, and you will, and our ministry will become a leader in this process, as I'm sure about it. And thank you very much for describing practically all directions of our cooperation. I was willing at the end to ask you about cooperation in security issues, in CFSI issues, but you also mentioned the missions where Georgia participated, and etc. So I guess that there will be more questions from the audience, but let me now to turn To the next presenter, energy was mentioned in Deputy Minister's speech. Energy cooperation and future of this cooperation as well. Briefly, it was mentioned and described, but now let me turn to this very, very important question to our next participant, this Mr. Tarantini from Federico Tarantini from Gigi Energy of the European Commission. He works for a few years in holding the position of the political officer dealing with our region, I mean Black Sea Caspian region, in particular Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Central Asian states, and of course is closely involved in all these problems related to the bringing this region closer to the European governance, I would say, European governance in energy, which is very important to reach in order to reach transparency, to reach the adequate level of energy efficiency of other approaches, which is well formulated in use latest energy policy documents. And Mr. Tarantini worked as well, and he's working still as a researcher and also teacher. So he's from also worked in College of Europe, as we learned, and now in the University that you said, Brussels Free University, as a lecturer. So he combines these both civil servant and academician, which is always very good in order to analyze what are you doing in reality in your civil service, to analyze from the point of view of a researcher. And we expect interesting presentation from his side related to, of course, first of all, what is interesting for us, Georgia's future in terms of integrating Georgia in energy field with European space, and in particular with the European Union. So let me to ask you, Mr. Tarantini, to make your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for a very nice introduction. Before getting into the content, a couple of remarks. I'm very happy to be here today in Tbilisi and to sit together with such distinguished panelists. So thank you also from my side to the organizer for their kind invitation. Second, for the interpreters, even though I see the service is not very used, I have the tendency to speak too fast sometimes. If this is a problem, just make me a sign and I will slow down. I've been asked to present on the challenges that Georgia faces in the accession to the Energy Community Treaty, and I'm very happy to do so. But I think it's important to frame this very specific issue into a broader perspective, if you will. The EU, the cooperation in the field of energy between EU and Georgia has been stepping up in the latest year, and the ultimate objective, if you will, is to bring the EU market and the Georgian market closer to each other. How do you do this? It's pretty much like to IT systems. You need hardware to connect the two systems, but you also need the compatibility of the software of the two systems. So we are working on these two main directives. Since my presentation and the focus is pretty much on the software, on the regulatory side, I will first briefly present the main initiatives that we have in our cooperation on the hardware. The Mr. already noted one, probably the most important project and a priority project for the EU itself, which is the Southern Gas Corridor, which he already gave a few details on the importance and what is meant to achieve. Maybe just to complement, for us, even the establishment of the Southern Gas Corridor, which should be on stream at the end of this decade, will have a beneficial impact on energy security for Georgia, which seems to be a hot point on the public opinion agenda. But for us, this is only the start. We see tremendous unexploited and untapped potential following the establishment of the Southern Gas Corridor. In particular, we think that, and we are working on the extension of the corridor to Turkmenistan. And last year, our Vice President went to Ashgabat to reinforce these multilateral thoughts. And Georgia is in the room when it comes to the working group that has been established to facilitate the supply of Turkmen gas to the EU through the government storage. Another project that we have jointly developed to bring our system closer and is in the electricity sector, and the fostering of electricity interconnection between Georgia and Turkey, which has been financed by European financial institution and the European Commission, brings the Georgian electricity market closer to the EU. This year, Turkey, since last year, is fully synchronized with the EU central continental system. So, of course, it's not a direct connection, but it brings definitely closer. So much for the hardware, the main point. When it comes to the regulatory approximation, to bringing the soft side of the system closer, the main achievement so far has been the association agreement, which has been signed in 2013. The association agreement contains some provision in the free trade part, which are related to energy, but the biggest challenge, since I've been asked to talk about challenges, is included in the annex under the sectorial chapter, the energy chapter. There you have a long list of EU legislation which Georgia commits to implement. So I have not mentioned so far energy communities, and here's the link. In most of the obligation, I would say 85% of the obligation under the association agreement, the agreement itself make reference for the precise implementation of this commitment to the terms agreed under the Energy Community Treaty. And to be even more specific, the association agreement states that 2 years are needed. I mean, there are 2 years of time for Georgia to enter the energy community in order to refer to the term and conditions which are being set in this agreement. So, what's the Energy Community Treaty? It's an international treaty which was signed in 2005 between the EU and 9 contracting parties. We are talking mostly about Balkans countries. It has been conceived with the ultimate aim to have these energy markets fully integrated with the European energy market. This is not a cold shower. The idea is to reform internally these markets, normally small markets where an incumbent and when it was natural monopoly, as also in many European member states, EU member states. So to reform the internal energy market, then to integrate these markets into a regional market, and eventually to have a single market, which is our pan-European one. Since 2005, a lot of developments took place under this international treaty. New contracting parties entered the energy community, Moldova and Ukraine, notably, in 2010 and 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Some initial contracting parties eventually became European Union member states. And also on the contents of the agreement of the deal, a lot has evolved, if you will. I should specify what's in the energy community. Basically, it's the parties commit in approximating their legislation to the vast majority of European energy market legislation. This includes gas and electricity sector, energy efficiency, renewable energy, energy statistics, some provision of competition law, and also environmental law, which which has a link with energy. And also this package of legislation has evolved during time. For instance, this year or last year, the last Ministerial Council, the Energy Efficiency Directive was absorbed by the Energy Community, among several other things. Lastly, the treaty has been prolonged until 2026, and a reform process to strengthen, to improve the functioning of the energy community is ongoing. The main aim are to improve the implementation of the commitments, strengthen the security of supply and solidarity aspect of the community, and lastly to foster investment in this country, in the contracting parties. The negotiation with Georgia. Georgia is currently an observer of the energy community, even better is a candidate. Armenia and Norway and Turkey are observers of the energy community. Georgia has to enter energy community in 2013, and the official negotiations were launched in early 2014 when the former Commissioner for Energy, Oettinger, visited the country. Several and significant progresses have been made so far. It's now 2 years that we are negotiating the terms, but still there are challenges. There are some issues that has to be solved. The main challenge, or speaking about the challenges for Georgia to accessing the energy community, I can see two kinds of challenges. One, these are challenges related with the negotiations, and another kind of challenges is related with the implementation of the obligation. When it comes to negotiations, these are very peculiar negotiations in the energy community framework. So far, as you might have got it already, contracting parties of the energy community were parties sharing borders with other contracting parties or with European Union member states. So this idea of connecting their markets with other contracting parties' markets or the EU one is much more direct and evident. In this case, if Georgia, as it stands now, the situation, if Georgia enters the energy community, it would be a sort of energy community island with no contracting parties or EU member states around the country. So this poses challenges by this objective feature poses challenges which are of the technical nature. How do you apply some provision concerning cross-border trade when on the other side of the border you don't have the same regime that applies? But it's also there are also policy or political challenges, if you will. As I anticipated, there's a security of supply and energy solidarity dimension in the energy community. Of course, if in the absence of a direct link between Georgia and other parties, these arguments is somewhat less strong. So this is something which is has to be taken into account in negotiation, especially when it comes to the arrangements that Georgia has made so far to ensure security of supply for population. When it comes to a second part of the challenges concerning negotiation is also the approval of the terms and conditions, meaning that the Commission is leading the negotiation from the Energy Community Treaty side with the involvement of the Energy Community Secretariat. But once and when an agreement has been reached on terms and conditions, these terms and conditions has to pass through the European Union member states, and they have to approve it. And then it goes to the Ministerial Council of the Energy Community, and all contracting parties have to approve it. So it's very important that we develop a solid, strong deal in order to this be eventually accepted by all these other parties. Of course, the implementation and the absorption of European energy legislation is a major challenge by itself. and even here under a number of aspects. Technically, it can be very complicated. You need capacity building. Some European member states have difficulties in implementing fully our legislation, so this is for sure a major challenge. Of course, in every country in the world, I would say, sometimes there is resistance to change. So there might be some interest and some pressure to slow down the process, to resist the change. These are very significant challenges, but I would also note that there are benefits associated with these challenges. First of all, I think that there is a sort of double dividend, if not triple dividend, in implementing reforms. As someone was noting, NATO integration, EU integration, association agreement, energy community accession, they all require reforms. So the same reform can help in moving forward in a number of framework and agreements. This is very evident when it comes to this link between association agreement and energy community. The implementation of energy community commitments would imply fulfillment of the obligation under the two frameworks. On the other hand, the political benefits of accessing the energy community, of course, would be reinforced. It would be another sign that Georgia is going towards the European path. There are also major benefits in implementing these reforms. Having the EU legislation applied in Georgia, especially when it comes to domestic, the internal market aspects of this legislation, it's extremely helpful in developing a market which is open to competition. We have seen that this brings investment also in Georgia, meaning in a small country, it helps. It helps fostering a resilient energy system, energy market, resilient to both internal and external influences. And lastly, I would note that also the sustainability of the energy sector would be enhanced. And when I speak about sustainability, I both mean financial sustainability and environmental sustainability. A last word on the fact that these are very cumbersome and complex challenges that Georgia faces, but we have also, and the EU has also, tools to support Georgia in these endeavors. The facility under the association agreement has already been cited by Ambassador Herman, if I'm not mistaken, that we can help under €1 million per year to implement association agreement obligations, including on public administration, which is one of the two priorities. We have a regional energy program which is called Innovate. These concern Eastern Partnership and Central Asia countries. In a few months, this program will be reviewed. A new program will replace Innovate, and the Energy Community Secretariat is a partner in this program and will deal with bilateral assistance to the current member of the energy community, but also Georgia as candidate country and as association agreement. So this would be very important to help in the technical aspects of taking on board this legislation. We have financial tools. The neighborhood investment facilities helped a lot in this Turkey-Georgia interconnection, but also in an interconnection between Armenia and Georgia. On the sustainable energy side, the E5P helps in the field of renewable energy and energy efficiency, especially at local and municipal level. We have other European financial institutions engaged. I would probably note in particular the EBRD, which is helping not only on investment, but also in developing a national energy efficiency action plan in Georgia. We have launched a second twinning to help the Georgian regulator with regard regard to electricity tariffs. And this is also only the EU layer. All this comes on top of this. There is also all bilateral support by member states that is there and can help Georgia to fulfill this.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tarantini. It was really very interesting, and you encompassed in your presentation practically all questions. I will face difficulties to pose you any additional question, but I'm sure that some experts on energy, also including energy, presented in this audience will find some more questions to you. Interesting that you mentioned the main steps which we have ahead in joining European Energy Community and in advancing in general in cooperation with Europe in issues of energy. You also mentioned challenges, and you mentioned also described the benefits of this process, external, internal benefits, common benefits for everybody, and you also described the tools which EU offers to Georgia in order to overcome the challenges and to fulfill these energy acquis of European Union, etc. So, demanded by Energy Community Treaty, etc. So, thank you very much for such explanations, and I will be waiting in after all the presentations that the participants of the conference will make more comments and questions. And now let me turn to Mr. Gigiadze, who is well known in Georgia as one of the best experts on European integration issues, and he is not only expert, but he is also active participant, I would say active civil society member who is pushing, advocating for reforms for in any direction of European integration, and actually trying to mobilize community in Georgia in favor of European integration reforms, etc. So he is actually working in Open Society Foundation and especially helping the civil society organizations to obtain support from this foundation to develop projects on EU integration. He participated actively in development of communication strategy on EU integration in Georgia, and he contributed a lot in public debates and did several projects also on visa liberalization issues in Georgia, which made quite substantial awareness on these issues inside the society. So let me now ask Mr. Gigiadze to make his presentation. I have some difficulties to specify question again with him because he's involved practically in all European integration related topics in Georgia, but as special I would ask to make special emphasis on visa liberalization topics and also on communication strategy, which are one of the most pressing and important issues in Georgia. Please, go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, Chair, for this lengthy introduction. I really appreciate being here and sharing my thoughts with you. Thanks for the organizers for such a great event. And since we have an interpreter here, let me switch to Georgian and to make interpretation to my presentation in my native language. Კიდევ ერთხელ ძალიან დიდი მადლობა მინდა გადაგიხადოთ მოწვევისთვის. რამოდენიმე საკითხზე მინდა გავაჩეროთ თქვენ ყურადღება. ცხადია ვისაუბრებ ვიზების თემასთან დაკავშირებით, მაგრამ ასევე ვერაუდი ზოგადად ევროინტეგრაციის პროცესს, მიღწევებს და გამოწვევებს, რომლებიც ჩვენ გვაქვს საქართველოს აქვს ამ პროცესში. პირველ რიგში, რა თქმა უნდა, ბოლო ალბათ 3-4 წლის ყველაზე დიდი მიღწევა ევროინტეგრაციის პროცესში ეს გახლავთ ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის სამოქმედო გეგმის შესრულება და ის დადებითი დასკვნა, რომელიც დეკემბერში გამოაქვეყნა ევროკომისიამ და ძალიან ცოტა არის დარჩენილი იქამდე რომ რეალურად შენგენის ხალხის კედელი, რომელიც აღმართული იყო ჩვენსა და ევროპას შორის დაინგრეს და საქართველოს მოქალაქეებმა შეძლონ გადაადგილება ევროკავშირის ტერიტორიაზე. თქვენ კომუნიკაციაზე გქონდათ აქ საუბარი და ჩვენ რამდენიც შეხვედრას არ უნდა გავმართოთ საქართველოს მოსახლეობასთან და ნამდვილად სამოქალაქო საზოგადოება ძალიან აქტიურია ამ თვალსაზრისით, ალბათ უპრიანი იქნება მათთვის, რომ თავიანთი თვალით ნახონ ის, თუ რა არის ზოგადად ევროპა და რა არის ის ევროპული ღირებულებები, მიღწევები, რომელიც არის იქ, იმისთვის რომ დაინახონ რეალურად რა არის მართალი იმასთან დაკავშირებით, რასაც ჩვენ ვამეუბნებით მოსახლეობას და რა არის ცდარი იმასთან დაკავშირებით, რასაც ხშირ შემთხვევაში ზოგიერთი ხშირ შემთხვევაში რუსეთიდან ალბათ დაფინანსებული არასამთავრობო ორგანიზაციები ეუბნებიან მათ. სამწუხაროდ უნდა ითქვას, რომ ზოგადად მობილურობის თვალსაზრისით საქართველოს მოქალაქეები არ გამოირჩევიან თუ შევადარებთ მას აღმოსავლეთ პარტნიორობის სხვა ქვეყნებს, ეხლა ხანს CRRS-ის კვლევამის თვალნათლივ აჩვენა რეალურად ძალიან ცოტა საქართველოს მოქალაქეს თუ მოგზაურია ევროკავშირის შიგნით და უნახავს რა არის თავისი თვალით ევროპა და რა არის ევროკავშირი. მეორე დიდი გამოწვევა და პრობლემა იყო ის, რომ აღმოსავლეთ პარტნიორობის ქვეყნებს შორის საქართველო იყო პირველ ადგილზე ვიზებზე უარისთმის მაჩვენებლის მიხედვით. ეს ხო ყველაზე მაღალი მაჩვენებელი, დაახლოებით 12-13%-ის პარალელში 11%. და ის ბევრად ჩამოვარდებოდა, უბრალოდ აღემატებოდა სხვა ქვეყნებს, მაგალითად იგივე იქნებოდა ეს ბელორუსი, თუნდაც რუსეთი, რომელიც არ არის აღმოსავლეთ პარტნიორობის ქვეყანა, მოლდოვა თუ უკრაინა. მე ვიტყოდი, რომ ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის სამოქმედო გეგმა იყო ჩემის აზრით, ჩემი სუბიექტური აზრით, ყველაზე ეფექტური დოკუმენტი, რაც კი ევროკავშირის საქართველოსთვის მოუწია მთელი დამოუკიდებლობის პირველი დღიდან დღევანდელ დღემდე. მე არ ვიცი ჯერჯერობით შედეგები ძალიან ადრეა ვისაუბროთ ასოცირების ხელშეკრულებაზე, მაგრამ ლაპი ეს იყო ყველაზე ეფექტური დოკუმენტი, რომელიც საქართველოს ხელისუფლებას ჰქონდა ბოლო 3 წლის მანძილზე. და მე ვიტყოდი, რომ არა ვლაპი, ალბათ ბევრი ის რეფორმა, რაც გაკეთდა, ზოგიერთი ვიტყოდი, არც თუ ისე სიღრმისეული, მაგრამ მაინც გადაიდგა ნაბიჯები ყოველ შემთხვევაში ამ მიმართულებით, ან არ იქნებოდა, ან იქნებოდა ძალიან გვიან. პირველ რიგში მე ნაკლებად წარმოვიდგენი ალბათ, რომ არა ვლაპი და ეს მოთხოვნა საქართველოს მიიღო ანტიდისკრიმინაციული კანონი. ძალიან ნაკლებად წარმოვიდგენი ეს ემართლები გქონდათ ეს ფაქტი. ვლაპმა ძალიან დიდი როლი ითამაშა ასევე იმაში, რომ საქართველო მოაწესრიგა თავშესაფრის პოლიტიკა, რომელშიც საკმაოდ ბევრი სირთულეები იყო ბოლო წლების მანძილზე და ის რომ ეს პოლიტიკა მნიშვნელოვანი წინსვლა არის ამ თვალსაზრისით ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია, იმდენ რამდენადაც საქართველო ნელ-ნელა ხდება რაღაცა სამიზნე ქვეყანა, არა იმ მასშტაბით, როგორც არის ევროკავშირის ქვეყნები, მაგრამ მაინც საქართველო ხდება სამიზნე ქვეყანა თავშესაფრის მაძიებლებისთვის. ბოლო წელს მონაცემებით დაახლოებით 1200-მა უცხო ქვეყნის მოქალაქე მოითხოვა საქართველოში თავშესაფარი, რაც საქართველოსთვის საკმაოდ მაღალი მაჩვენებელია. ერთ-ერთი მნიშვნელოვანი მიღწევა, მე ვფიქრობ, ეს იყო ასევე ნარკოტესტირებასთან დაკავშირებით ცვლილება, რომელიც ხშირ შემთხვევაში საკმაოდ დიდი პრობლემა იყო და სწორედ ეს ვლაპის მოთხოვნა, ერთ-ერთი მოთხოვნა იყო ეს, რამაც საქართველოს ხელისუფლებას უბიძგა იმისკენ, რომ კონკრეტული რეფორმები გაეტარებინა ამ თვალსაზრისით. სიმართლე გითხრათ, უვიზუალურ მოსვლასთან დაკავშირებით და ამ გადაწყვეტილებასთან დაკავშირებით მე გაუარებული ბრძოლა მაქვს. მიხარია იმდენ რამდენადაც ეს რა თქმა უნდა, როგორც თქვი თავში ნიშნავს იმას, რომ დაინგრევა შენგენის ქაღალდის კედლები და ჩვენ ვიზის გარეშე წავალთ ევროპაში, მაგრამ მეორე მხრივ მე მრჩება შტაბის ცდილება, რომ ვლაპის გარეშე ალბათ ეს რეფორმები და ის ტემპი, რაც იყო ბოლო 3 წლის განმავლობაში, არ იქნება ისეთი, როგორც იყო მანამდე. ასოცირების ხელშეკრულებაში რა თქმა უნდა ჩადებული ძალიან ბევრი რამ რაც იყო ვლაპში, მაგრამ მე ვჭირავს, რომ ტემპი დაიკარგება და არ იქნება მაღალი, ისეთივე მაღალი, როგორც იყო ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის სამოქმედო გეგმის პერიოდში. მე ვიტყოდი, რომ ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის სამოქმედო გეგმა არის მისი შესრულება ძალიან დიდი და წინ გადადგმული ნაბიჯი, რაც რა თქმა უნდა საქართველოს ამჟამინდელი ხელისუფლების დამსახურებაა, მაგრამ არის საკითხები, რაც პრინციპში წინა ხელისუფლების დროს დაიწყო და ეს განგზნობითობა ალბათ ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია. მე გამოვყავდი მაგალითად ბიომეტრიული პასპორტების გაცემის საკითხს, რომელიც 2010 წლიდან დაიწყო და ის რომ ეს საკითხი არც თუ ისე მარტივად მოსაგვარებელია, ჩვენ ნახეთ უკრაინის მაგალითზე, სადაც ბიომეტრიული პასპორტების გაცემა ძალიან დიდი ხნის მანძილზე ვერ დაიწყო და ძალიან დიდი დრო დასჭირდა იმას, რომ უკრაინა გადასულიყო ბიომეტრიულ პასპორტებს. მე ვფიქრობ, რომ ჩვენ გვაქვს რამოდენიმე გამოწვევა, როგორც შიდა და ამ გამოწვევებს მე ორ ჯგუფად დავყოფდი, ინტეგრაციის გზაზე, ეს არის შიდა გამოწვევები და ეს არის გარე გამოწვევები. შიდა გამოწვევებს რაც შეეხება, მე ვფიქრობ, პირველად ყოვლისა ეს არის ის, რომ სამწუხაროდ ქვეყანაში არ არის გრძელვადიანი ხედვა იმასთან დაკავშირებით, თუ როგორი უნდა იყოს საქართველოს ევროინტეგრაციის სტრატეგია, რა არის ასე ვთქვათ შემდგომი ნაბიჯები. როცა ჩვენ აღარ გვექნება ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის სამოქმედო გეგმა, გვექნება ასოცირების ხელშეკრულება, რაღაც ეტაპზე შევასრულებთ, მაგრამ აი ამის შემდეგ რა უნდა იყოს და რა ნაბიჯები უნდა გადავდგა. და ამის დასტური არის ერთი მომენტი, რომ ყოველთვის ვაკვირდები, მაგალითად, როდის იწყება საქართველოში ევროპულ პერსპექტივაზე საუბარი და ეს ყოველთვის იწყება აღმოსავლეთის პარტნიორობის აქტიურად, ვამბობ და არა ასე, ისე ყოველთვის არის, მაგრამ აქტიურად ამაზე საუბარი იწყება აღმოსავლეთის პარტნიორობის სამიტის წინ, დაახლოებით 3-4 თვით ადრე და სრულდება მას შემდეგ, როცა ოფიციალურად გამოქვეყნდება აღმოსავლეთის პარტნიორობის სამიტის დეკლარაცია, სადაც კიდევ ერთხელ აღმოჩნდება, რომ ევროპულ პერსპექტივაზე არ არის მინიშნება ჩადებული. კიდევ ერთხელ ეს უფრო აქტიურად ხდება სწორედ ამ პერიოდში, ამ მიმართულებით ალბათ უფრო მეტი ნაბიჯები არის გადადგმული და უფრო გადასადგმელი და უფრო მეტად საჭირო არის ეს უფრო გრძელვადიანი ხედვა, რას ვაპირებთ შემდგომ და დაგეგმა თვალსაზრისით. აქ იყო საუბარი მოლდოვასთან და უკრაინასთან თანამშრომლობაზე, მე ვფიქრობ, რომ ეს თანამშრომლობა უფრო უკეთესი სურვილს ტოვებს. ფაქტია, რომ სუბიექტური თუ ობიექტური მიზეზების გამო საქართველოს ხელისუფლებიდან უმაღლესი წარმომადგენელი არც ერთხელ ბოლო რაც მოვიდა ეს ხელისუფლება საქართველოში არასოდეს არ ჩასულა კიევში და ურთიერთობა კიევთან და ეს ვიზიტი არის ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი, უაღრესად მნიშვნელოვანი იმ გზაზე, რასაც ქვია ევროინტეგრაცია. ძალიან დაბალი არის მე ვფიქრობ ინტენსივობა საქართველოს და მოლდოვის თანამშრომლობით ამ თვალსაზრისით და ფაქტია, რომ იმისთვის რომ ჩვენ კიდევ უფრო წინ გადავდგეთ ნაბიჯები ევროინტეგრაციის გზაზე, მნიშვნელოვანია სწორედ ამ ურთიერთობის გაუმჯობესება, ან განმტკიცება მოლდოვასა და უკრაინასთან. ასევე ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი არის წევრ ქვეყნებთან ინდივიდუალურ დონეზე მუშაობა და მუშაობის კიდევ უფრო გააქტიურება და ერთ-ერთი ყველაზე დიდი გამოწვევა, რაც კულტურულად ნამდვილად გულს მტკნეს, ეს გახლავთ ის, რომ საქართველოს პარლამენტის როლი ევროინტეგრაციის პროცესში ძალიან დაბალია, თითქმის მინიმალური. დღეს არის პირველი თებერვალი, დღეს გახდა წელიწადი და 5 თვე მას შემდეგ, რაც ასოცირების ხელშეკრულება პირობითად შევიდა ძალაში და საქართველოს პარლამენტის არც ერთ პლენარულ სხდომაზე არ განხილულა საკითხი, რამდენად სრულდება ან არ სრულდება ასოცირების ხელშეკრულება. წელიწადი და 5 თვის მანძილზე. დარგობრივი ეკონომიკის კომიტეტს საქართველოს პარლამენტში ამ დროის მანძილზე ერთი მოსმენა არ აქვს გაკეთებული იმასთან დაკავშირებით, რამდენად სრულდება ან არ სრულდება ყველაზე მნიშვნელოვანი ნაწილი ასოცირების ხელშეკრულების, რომელიც არის ხმა და ყოვლისმომცველი თავისუფალი ვაჭრობის შეთანხმება. ანუ ფაქტიურად საპარლამენტო ზედამხედველობა ამ პროცესზე არის ძალიან დაბალი, 2 თუ 3 მინდა შემეშალოს მოსმენა გაკეთდა ევროინტეგრაციის კომიტეტში და ესეც დიდ წილად იმის გამო, რომ სწორედ ეს pushing-ი უკაცრავად ინგლისური სიტყვის იყო სწორედ სამოქალაქო საზოგადოებისთვის. რაც შეეხება გარე გამოწვევებს და გარე გამოწვევებს, რა თქმა უნდა, როცა ჩვენ ამას ვსაუბრობთ, ჩვენ გვერდს ვერავულით რუსეთის მეზობლობას, სადია ჩვენ ვერსაც ვერ გადავალთ აქედან, არც უნდა გადავიდეთ. ეს არის მეზობელი, რომელიც არის აგრესიული, რომელსაც არავინ არ იცის რა შეიძლება მოიმოქმედოს ხვალ. და სამწუხაროდ არის პარალელური პროცესი, რაც ამასთან ერთvis არის ის, რომ ურთიერთობა საქართველოსა და რუსეთის შორის არის აბსოლუტურად გაუმჭვირვალე. ამის ორი ნათელი მაგალითია, ერთი მოლაპარაკებები გასწრებთან, რომელზედაც ჩვენ საქართველოს მოსახლეობა გავიგეთ საერთოდ მესამე წყაროდან და მეორე მოლაპარაკებები საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრის მოადგილე კარასინსა და პრემიერ-მინისტრის სპეციალურ წარმომადგენელს შორის, რომელიც არის აბსოლუტურად დახურული, ურთიერთობები დათბა, ფაქტია, არ არის რაღაცა დიდი აგრესია, მაგრამ ჩვენ არ ვიცით, რას ეხება ეს მოლაპარაკებები და რას ვთმობთ იმის სანაცვლოდ, რომ ეს ურთიერთობები არის დამთბარი. არც ერთი ამ ბოლო 3 წლის მანძილზე ჩვენ ასე ვთქვათ, სუსტი ინფორმაცია არ გვაქვს, რაზე მიდის მოლაპარაკებები ბატონ კარასინსა და ბატონ აბაშიძეს შორის. რაც შეეხება ორ კიდევ მნიშვნელოვან გამოწვევას, საგარეო გამოწვევებზე მაქვს საუბარი ისევ და ისევ. ეს არის ის, რომ სამწუხაროდ თვითონ ევროკავშირის შიგნითაც დღეს არ არის ნაკლები ხედვა იმასთან დაკავშირებით, თუ როგორი უნდა იყოს ურთიერთობები მეზობლებთან, როგორი არის რა შემდგომი ნაბიჯები არის ასოცირების ხელშეკრულების შემდეგ და როგორი უნდა იყოს ურთიერთობა იგივე მოლდოვასთან, უკრაინასთან და საქართველოსთან, ამაზე რაღაც სიგნისეული ფიქრი ევროკავშირის შიგნით არ არის, ამან ეს აგვენახა არც ისე დიდი ხნის წინ გამოქვეყნებულმა ევროპის სამეზობლო პოლიტიკის გადახედვის დოკუმენტმა, რომელმაც უფრო მეტი კითხვის ნიშანი დატოვა, ვიდრე რეალურად პასუხი გასცა კითხვებს. ასევე ჩვენ სულ ახლა ხანს რამოდენიმე დღის წინ გავიგონეთ განცხადება პოლონეთის საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრისაგან, ერთ-ერთი ქვეყანა, რომელიც შემქმნელი არის ფაქტიურად დამაარსებელი აღმოსავლეთ პარტნიორობის, ამგვარად განაცხადა, რომ აღმოსავლეთ პარტნიორობა ეს არის წარუმატებელი პროექტი და მან ფაქტიურად თავისი თავი ამოწურა. ციტირებას არ ვახდენ, მაგრამ ფაქტიურად შინაარსი ეს იყო. რა შეიძლება აქედან იყოს, ასე ვთქვათ, რეკომენდაცია ჩვენი სამოქალაქო საზოგადოების ყოველ შემთხვევაში ნაწილის მაინც ვინც ჩართული ვართ ამ პროცესში. პირველი და უმთავრესი ეს არის ის, რომ ჩვენ დავინახეთ, რომ ვიზის ლიბერალიზაციის რეკომენდო გეგმის დროს შემოტანილმა ეგრეთ წოდებულმა ნიშნულებმა, ბენჩმარკებმა ძალიან კარგად იმუშავა და საქართველოს ხელისუფლება მართლაც დღეს და ღამეს ათენებდა იმისთვის, რომ ეს ბენჩმარკები შეესრულებინა. მე ვფიქრობ, რომ კარგი იქნება, რომ მსგავსი ბენჩმარკები იქნა შემოტანილი ასოციაციის წესრიგის ახალ დოკუმენტში, რომელიც იწურება ეხლა 2016 წელს, როგორც იცით, მოხდეს მოლაპარაკება ახალ ასოციაციის წესრიგის დოკუმენტზე, რომელიც სავარაუდოდ ალბათ შეეხება 2017-2019 წლებს, ალბათ კონკრეტიკა ძალიან კარგი იქნება, რომ დავინახოთ და ჩვენ მონიტორინგის პარალელში ვიცოდეთ რეალურად რა შესრულდა და რა უნდა შესრულდეს და რა ზოგადი ფრაზები ინერანდეს შეშეთქვაში გაურკვევლოს და შესაძლებლობას არ გვაძლევს, რომ მონიტორინგის პროცესში აღმოვაჩინოთ ის მიღწევები ან დარღვევები, რაც შეიძლება იყოს ევროინტეგრაციის დროს. მეორე საკითხი, რაც შეეხება კომუნიკაციას, ძალიან კარგია, რომ ამ მიმართულებით ძალიან აქტიურად მუშაობს სახელმწიფო მინისტრის აპარატი. ის სტრატეგია, რომელიც თქვენ ახსენებთ, Kakha იწურება მომავალ წელს, შესაბამისად ამ თავითვე არის ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი, რომ სტრატეგიის განახლებაზე იყოს დაწყებული მუშაობა და ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია ასევე, რომ უფრო მეტად და უფრო გასაგებიერი იქნას კომუნიკაცია საქართველოს მოსახლეობასთან, განსაკუთრებით ესახება რამოდენიმე ქალაქს, როგორც აჩვენა მაგალითად კავკასიის კვლევებისა და რესურსების ცენტრის კვლევამ, არის 4 ქალაქი საქართველოში, სადაც ძალიან მაღალი არის ევროსკეპტიციზმი, შესაბამისად ალბათ მუშაობა კონკრეტულად ამ ქალაქების მიმართულებით, ეს არის გორი, რამდენადაც მახსოვს ოზურგეთი და კიდევ 2 ქალაქია, უბრალოდ ხა არ მოგონდება, ამ მიმართულებით მუშაობა იქნება ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი და უნდა მივაწოდოთ უთხოვარი და ზუსტი ინფორმაცია ევროინტეგრაციასთან დაკავშირებით, საქართველოს მოსახლეობამ უნდა იცოდეს, რომ მაგალითად 2019 წელს ასოციაციის შექმნებით ჩვენ გვაქვს რაღაცა რეგულაცია შესაძლებელი მისაღები და ეს არ იქნება მარტივი, ეს მოითხოვს ხარჯებს, ეს მოითხოვს იმას ექნება კონკრეტული სარგებელი, აი ეს დეტალები ახსნა იქნება საქართველოს მოსახლეობისთვის საჭირო და ბოლოს შეიძლება თქვა გარკვეული გაკვირვება იმასთან დაკავშირებით, რომ სამწუხაროდ სამოქალაქო სექტორისაგანაც მე პირადად უფრო მეტად ველოდი აქტიურობას მონიტორინგის თვალსაზრისით, ძალიან ცოტა არის არასამთავრობო ორგანიზაციები, რომლებიც ჩართული იყვნენ ასოციაციების ხელშეკრულების და ჩართული არიან ასოციაციების ხელშეკრულების შესრულების მონიტორინგის პროცესში, ალბათ ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი იქნება, რომ ეს მონიტორინგის პროცესში რაც შეიძლება უფრო მეტი ორგანიზაცია ჩაერთოს და უფრო მეტი სექტორი იქნას დაფარული, რომ არ დარჩეს რაიმე სფერო, სადაც რაღაცა ეს პასუხისმგებლობას არ იგრძნობს საქართველოს ხელისუფლება, ეს მაშინ კიდევ ერთხელ ვიტყვი, როდესაც აბსოლუტურად ზედამხედველობა თითქმის ნულს უტოლდება საკანონმდებლო ხელისუფლებას. დიდი მადლობა, მე აკავშირდები და თუ ფიქრები იქნება სიამოვნებით ჩაესწრებით.
Დიდი მადლობა, ბატონო. Thank you very much. So I will continue in English as I started from the beginning, so not changing the rules during the process. So let me to thank you very much for your very interesting presentation, and it was very open, very frank. You praised the government where it was necessary regarding, for example, the visa liberalization action plan implementation. You criticized the government where it was necessary. You criticized Parliament as well, and you criticized even European Union from the, I would say, referring to the words of the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs. So that's very good. So it's a really civil society voice here, which makes us to think more and to dedicate even more to the topic. So thank you very much for this. And of course, interesting point that you mentioned that we face now challenges to renew our communication strategy. Which is difficult case and a difficult endeavor, I think, and all civil society and government should work very closely in this in order to create an efficient strategy which will help our population, our society to understand and to support more European integration. Thank you very much. Let me now to turn to the audience, and I will not start posing first questions because I hope that questions are there, more and more specific. I will interrupt that in case if you exhaust your ideas. So let me to ask the audience to ask to our distinguished panelists the questions. Yes, yes. Go ahead first.
Yes, thank you first of all to the guests. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm Giorgi Kvirikashvili, I work in IDFI, and thank you for the interesting interventions. I would have to say that I agree 100% with whatever Gigiadze is saying, and I would like to add that the biggest flaw that probably a lot of people who are engaged with the EU see is exactly the lack of strategy towards the Eastern partners right now. We see that Moldova is in turmoil and that the government is associated with corruption, which is in itself associated with the EU, with the European choice. We see Ukraine, there's war there, and corruption within Ukraine is slowly eating it away. And then in Georgia, we have one country that is supposedly moving forward, however, still has many challenges, maybe security or either transparency, lack of communication with on certain issues. Now, Gigiadze has mentioned the revision of the EMP, which presumes that if there will be more ownership, more differentiation, then the whole idea behind the EMP, specifically behind the EAP, falls down. That it's not a policy which is directed towards a whole group or a region, but it will be specifically directed to the countries. But I just have a question, is this necessarily a negative thing for Georgia, since you mentioned that we, at a certain point, will not have any more incentives than just the CFTA, the visa liberalization. What is next? Because we know that the EMP and the association agreement is essentially everything but institutions. So I think that maybe, actually, with the dissolution of the EMP, not the EMP, but the EAP, we can actually have something else, something better. And that would be just a question to Gigiadze. Yes, thank you.
More questions, please. Yeah. Please, this Gogolashvili. No, Mr. Murman. Yeah.
I'm Gogolashvili. I represent World Experience for Georgia, and I'll be talking primarily on energy issue. I'm a little disappointed with the reduction of audience in this session compared to the previous one. And I want to emphasize that the issues that are being discussed here are, first of all, related to the security of this country, and they are no less important than the issues discussed in the first session. Especially this concerns energy sector that I want to talk about. The soft power that has been mentioned in the previous section, the negotiations with Gazprom and not mentioned negotiations with inter-RAO UES, they pose a significant threat to this country which needs to be coped with. And the threat is stemming from the untransparent and ambiguous environment in energy sector that we have here, and the soft power that feeds on this environment may have not so soft consequences. Actually, negotiations on Georgia's accession to energy community, actually negotiations on implementing the obligations taken under association agreement, they have very strong implication in that direction. And the fact that the agreement, the achievement of agreement is dragging for so long, it also already signifies a significant obstruction to the process that we should be aware of. Initially, the European Commissioner on Energy, who opened the negotiations on February 20, 2014, the expectation was that the agreement should be achieved by October the same year. It's a year and a half since that, and the progress is not that prominent actually, and there are many open issues. And one important thing is that we are not sure that the perception, even within the government, and this was signified by the first appearance of the new Prime Minister in the Parliament, that the information is properly articulated to the top level of the government. We are not sure about that. And to our understanding, the dilemma is not in whether we should implement or not implement some legislation, because under association agreement we already have this obligation. It is only the dilemma whether we should implement that legislation under energy community with more support, together with other countries, and in more easier way, or we have to face European Union later, afterwards, and still implement the same legislation, but we don't know whether we'll be able to negotiate the same conditions, same derogations as we know that are being negotiated now. So the dilemma is whether we are implementing it or we are dragging it further and further, and actually it may get to the point when it will become impossible to implement the European legislation, because new memoranda are being signed by the government. European Union is accepting new legislation and moving forward while we're moving backwards. So actually it can lead to default on association agreement, and I don't know what the consequences of this can be, and this is one of the questions that I have. And the second question that I have to Mr. Tarantini is whether this is the understanding of our delegation while negotiations, that it's not about whether we are going to implement or not implement this legislation, European directives for it, or it is that we implement now under energy community or later alone. So whether there is such an understanding. And as a concluding remark, we have, I want to say that together with 23 other civil society organizations, prominent NGOs, we have submitted a letter to Prime Minister requesting a substantial discussion of this issue, expediting accession to energy community, and establishing control over memorandums and agreements that are being signed now, in order to achieve the compliance of any new agreements with our obligations under association agreement. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Gogolashvili posed a very important question. I think I would be grateful if you respond on that. But still, we can collect two questions. Yes, please. Name yourself, please.
My name is Giorgi Kvirikashvili. I'm the partner of GT4G, Global Technologies for Georgia. My question is to Mr. Tarantini also. So, as you mentioned, the extension of the Southern Gas Corridor to east to Turkmenistan is one of the top priorities of European Union energy policy. And for Georgia, as a transit country, it is not only challenge. I think this is a window of opportunity. And what's your opinion? How long this window of opportunity or opportunity for Georgia will be open? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next, well, two questions. One, please. No, please. First, gentleman. You. Okay, it's up to you.
My name is Veronica Lee. I'm from USAID, and my question is also for Mr. Tarantini. You mentioned just a number of programs that the EU is implementing to support accession to the Energy Community Treaty, and most of these programs are regional in nature, which tells me that energy is not really the priority area for EU assistance in terms of meeting AA goals. So I guess my question is, what are the top priorities for EU assistance to Georgia to meet
Greetings everybody. My name is Gigiadze from Georgia Today, weekly newspaper. First of all, I would like to convey my gratitude to IDFI team for organizing this wonderful conference. We need more of those, we as in Georgian media. Also, thank you for wonderful work, esteemed moderator. Insightful analysis from all the speakers. So now on to the question. I'll continue the turn that was asked by previous colleague. Regarding Southern Gas Corridor, and the question was already asked about Turkmenistan, so I would like to add the Iran bit too. What does the emergence of Iran as a new player change in the grand scheme of things? And also, if I may speculate a bit, I would like to ask whether the difficulties difficult relations between Moscow and Ankara now create a window of opportunity maybe between Brussels and Ankara to pursue more like real interest in energy sector. Thank you very much.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. And let me to, if there is no any urgent question, very urgent. Okay. Okay. We can add. Not on energy more, please.
No, and first of all, thank you very much for your invitation. I presented the Parliament of Georgia Committee of Sexual Economy and Economic Policy. I have a question. I just want to give you some information about the committees. And so we had the committee hearing about the association agreement on February 11. About the committee's hearing about the association agreement, especially the government sections plan how it's implemented. And I know you think it's later or late, but actually for us it was very important to having the annual report of government. So that's why this report was prepared a few weeks ago. So on February 11th there will be the committee hearing, and if somebody wants to attend this committee, so very likely. Thank you.
Much. Well, we can start commenting, of course, questions, and let me to start from Mr. Gigiadze. If the question was, first question was to Vano, but doesn't matter. Any order can be accepted, I think, here.
I'll just like to comment afterwards regarding communication strategy. The question was addressed to Mr. Tarantini, but I would like to also comment on this. It's absolutely clear that many items are interconnected. Georgia, it was mentioned, among the associated states, represents also an exception, because we have the highest support in the population towards European Euro-Atlantic integration. This is not the case, unfortunately, with Ukraine and Moldova, and that's absolutely clear. People should be well aware what is going on and how the negotiations are conducted. Regarding your item, you mentioned that all these threats which are emanating from the new deals on the energy sector, I think the government is absolutely aware of the possibilities which might develop from all these alternative new sources, and I think we all agree on that. Georgia has the huge experience with the unfair in energy trade with Russia, so all those threats are well known, and while dealing with these new items, everything is taken into consideration. So, of course, with the involvement of the civil society, with the consultations among all the stakeholders in the society, only the government should proceed further on that. So this would be my comment, and I would like just to thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So this encouraging civil society, of course, is invited to, with government to take decisions on such important issues. Thank you. And Mr. Gigiadze, please respond.
There was one question to me, I guess. Thank you. I mean, thanks for the information about the committee hearings. I didn't know it. I'll take the note. Well, for the something better. Frankly, I think that when it was the EMP review, there are some question marks for me. Like, for example, there is a possibility that you would extend the Erasmus Plus to the breakaway regions of all the EMP region. And I think that we don't have a clear, well-formulated vision on how this could be affecting Abkhazia and South Ossetia because of the existing legislation, etc., etc., etc. There was no mentioning, as far as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, on Abkhazia and South Ossetia, which I think that this is something which we have to pay attention to, because now the EU is going through the security strategy review process, and this is due, I think, at the end of the year or next year. So contributing to that process and pushing for the frozen conflicts, as they call it now, being included there, that would be of utmost importance. Last point, this is about something better. It's a membership perspective, and I have to be very clear and very firm here. A membership perspective and the lobbying for that doesn't start 2 weeks or 2 months or 3 months before the EAP summit. You should start it as early as possible. And if you ask me that it's not a proper moment for that, I can tell you that there is no proper moment at all for that, and it has never been, actually. So advocating for that, not only to Brussels, but for some influential EU member states, this is something, and clear strategy, how to advocate that. This is something that we should do. If I were in the government, what I would do is to do the preemptive screening of the application. You know, take those 3,500 questions that the EU is asking to membership candidates and go through it and find out what you have done and what you have to do. You know, so this is not only the external work. This is also the homework, and that's why I'm pushing and advocating for this vision to have how to deal with this EU integration process, because we would reach this AA implementation, and there is a risk that we would keep on staying the AA implementation country for years and years, upcoming years and years. You know? That's my fear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vano.
Thank you. Many questions. First, indeed, I mean, once since the association agreement has been signed and ratified, it's okay. The implementation, and these are obligations, so it's an issue. There should be no issue whether questioning whether this legislation should be absorbed or not. Is a matter of time. And I would add another dimension to it. For the time being, I explained that one of the main challenges for Georgian accession to the energy community, which is also an objective characteristics that makes possible to have specific negotiations. We live, as we've seen in the latest years, in a very unpredictable world. As this drags on, this complicated stuff, as you said, new energy efficiency directive is on board since November. Now we have to discuss this as well. It was not the case before. But if Turkey becomes a contracting party of the energy community before Georgia, then all this reasoning is drastically changed, and this would have a big impact on the current conditions, for instance. Of course, I mean, it's nothing concrete, but it's just thinking loud what the impact of having long, cumbersome negotiations would be. When it comes on the window of opportunity for the Turkmen gas supplies towards EU, very difficult. Again, we live in a very unpredictable and hectic environment, so I would not base myself or any analysis on a long window of opportunities, because things can change very fast. For sure, the momentum is there. Turkmenistan is increasing under pressure. The supplies, Russia's cut their Turkmen supplies. They are very much dependent on supply to China. So there's probably increasing interest and need for Turkmenistan to find alternative reliable markets. Also probably the putting on hold of the Turkish stream would make a further case for having this route implemented, agreed and implemented. On the other hand, so these are I think, conditions makes it now a good moment to work on this project. On the other hand, as someone else noted, there might be competition to this route. Also, developments with Iran are ongoing, and in this case, it's very early to say, so it's speculation. But any supply from Turkmenistan would pass through South Caucasus, would be of benefit for Georgia, would be of benefit for the EU. Iran could have potentially alternative routes. But again, nothing specific, and just imagining the warm up and thinking about the reflection and consideration. On bilateral assistance, it is true that many of the programs I've noted are regional by nature. Some, in any case, have very local or national or very specific, even municipal and city projects. I'm thinking about IFFP, which of course is applicable to many Eastern Partnership countries, but is about enhancing energy efficiency and increasing renewable sustainability in cities. I came across a project, it's not yet approved, about improving and working on city buses in Tbilisi. So this is not really regional. When it comes to also innogates, there will be, or the new innogates, there will be the bilateral or the bilateral needs will be taken more into consideration. This relates also to the ENP review, I think. These are regional programs, but still we are looking at this region as increasingly heterogeneous. So also the tools which will be applied and offered to countries will respond to diversified needs. When it comes to the purely bilateral assistance, in particular the one under the association agreement, this 100 million euro, these are priorities which are set together. And so Georgia, the government of Georgia, as I say, of course, priority by nature should be limited. If everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. So I guess that rule of law and rural development were felt as even more strongly needed than energy. And the third area is an horizontal one, and I think it could be linked with one of the major challenges for the implementation of EU energy legislation, which is capacity building, so public administration reform and training and technical assistance for this. Just one word, if I may, on the ENP review, since this has been, and what's next after the association agreement. I think, it goes without saying that the implementation now is key. The proper implementation of the association agreements is something very, very important. I'm not 100% sure that all the parties involved realize the complexity of this challenge, because it's a major, major challenge for everybody, for both sides of the signature, if you will. When it comes, and I agree that in order to be successful, it's very important that the association agenda are as detailed as possible on what should be the way forward. It's a nightmare. If you're not specific, you will get lost. With an ENP review, this cleavage between the regional aspect and the differentiation, I wouldn't be that critical. I think that is an objective thing, is a fact that we have countries choosing different options and going for different level of engagement with the EU, and this should be taken into account in order to fine-tune the cooperation in which both parties agree. This doesn't mean that the regional dimension is over. We can still have issues which are relevant and interesting for all the parties, all the interparty councils, and we should focus on this one when it comes to regional assistance. So, on the contrary, I think that if we manage to sit together and will have a much more precise debate, which we can be more fruitful. So I don't see this big challenge between the two.
Well, thank you very much. I think that it was another comprehensive presentation. I agree on the notion that, or idea that Eastern Partnership, first of all, has done good work, and it's not over, the second thing. And I don't share neither the skepticism about the Eastern Partnership impact, because at least we should know that Eastern Partnership resulted in 3 association agreements signed, which is bilateral dimension of Eastern Partnership and one of the core elements of bilateral track of Eastern Partnership. And these association agreements already create open space and open a big track, big possibilities, opportunities for further improvement of the deepening of relations with the EU, EU's engagement in this region. Otherwise, also Eastern Partnership, I would elaborate a little bit on that. Eastern Partnership also does very important thing. It tries to keep engaged those countries which were not ready or politically dedicated to sign agreements with European Union, to negotiate the bilateral agreements with European Union, so to keep them inside of the Europeanization process and European integration process anyway. For example, Armenia, if we take, it is ready to adopt lots of regulations from EU acquis, despite of the fact that it is a member of Eurasian Economic Union. And Azerbaijan, which is resisting to any kind of reform, still is trying to keep itself inside of EU's aura, I would say, or our sphere of influence, and also to make efforts to modernize in a way that not being isolated from this European integration process. So this very important job is done. And Belarus, we see that also, despite of the dictatorship is in Belarus, recognized everywhere in Europe that this is the last European dictatorship, actually, soft dictatorship, I would say. Still, everybody in Belarus understands that the future of Belarus is in Europe, and Eastern Partnership is helping them to be inside of this process. So I would not criticize, like it did Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Eastern Partnership at all. So let me to say that we are approaching the final of the conference, which was, to my view, very useful and interesting, because all presenters were very much qualified to represent interesting and comprehensive views, and also because the topics which we were discussing were very important for all of us. Unfortunately, Sergei Kapanadze, who could also be very interesting to listen his views, could not come because of his illness, because of his flu. So we were not able also to discuss these FTA-related issues in wider range. That's pity, but for the future conference, future meetings, maybe there will be a special topic to discuss, which is very comprehensive topic as well. Thank you very much, all of you. I mean, our panelists, for excellent presentations, and thank you very much for active participations, everybody in this audience. So thank you, and let's meet next time.
May I just add a few remarks? First of all, Mr. Gogolashvili, thank you for wonderful moderation, and to panelists, my gratitude and appreciation for brilliant presentations, and to the audience for interaction. I really hope that we'll have the same type of interaction and presentations tomorrow, and we are looking forward to your participation tomorrow. Thank you once again.